and I'm back, but back like cooked crack. The good crack though. The good crack, not the bad crack. You know what I'm saying? But all jokes aside, I'm back, and it's exciting today. I have like one of my favorite people that I know on this earth here today. She's been a friend of mine from the sandbox to today. You know what I mean? She helped me with my lessons. She's given me books to read. She's been a shoulder to cry on. She's been a friend to dance with. She's been just so many things to me. Like, it's amazing. It's only so many people that you meet in your life that last a lifetime. And earlier, me and her was talking about in your life, you meet people for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Some people in your life for a reason. We might work together. We might go to school together. It's different reasons why we come together. Then you have people that spend seasons in your life that, you know, you might have hung out with them in high school. You might hung out with them for 5 or 10 years, and now you don't even know where they at in life, and you don't even care, and they don't care where you at, you know? But then you have those people that you might only see once a year, once every 2 years, once every 5 years, once every 10 years, or however these gaps are. But whenever you see these people, the love is so genuine and it's so real that it's like no time was in between the middle. And she's one of them friends for me. She's always been that, not only for me, for the West Valley, the East Valley, South Side, far north, everywhere. She's always been that. I remember a time in Haiti, they had an earthquake and it was all fucked up in Haiti, and she organized hella people to just start doing live shows on the web. And this was like 10, 11, 12, maybe 15 years ago, like when we couldn't even fathom the concept of just streaming all these shows at one time. She did that already. She had Puffy and different people was like, we want to rock the vote. She said, I got you. She organized the vote here. She had a whole campaign where she was giving away condoms, safe sex. She did shit with MTV. She was on BET as a kid. She was one of the first people I ever saw on TV that I knew. And she was jamming. I can just keep talking about this woman forever, and I haven't even told you some of the most special things about her that we'll speak of as this interview goes on. But help me welcome to this FREEZ TV algorithm in this world that we have and what we got going on right now, Miss Queen Yonasda, a.k.a. Yo-Yo, a.k.a. the Queen of the Black people, a.k.a. the Queen of the Natives, a.k.a. just a beautiful soul. Thank you for coming in, Queen.
Thank you.
Like, for real, I love you too, Queen. Like, for real, thank you for coming in. Tell us about this outfit you got on. This is amazing. Like, what we got going on here?
I started a collaboration with Kayla Looking Horse of Native American fashion. You know, we're always seeing Native-inspired clothing. Mm-hmm. And not Native-owned and Native-designed clothing in retail stores. And I felt like, you know, just the same way that FUBU and Cara Kanai cross colors kicked in the door for Black hip-hop fashion. You know, I felt like, you know, in 2022 we need to see more Native American designers, and so me and her did a collaboration. I'm into right now doing collaborations with Black and brown and Native owned businesses. It's important for us to be able to help one another. And you know, I was like, I have a platform, Kayla, you know, I want to help you. And we just did the Grammys after party with Malik Yousef. We did a fashion show. You know, we got Taboo from Black Eyed Peas rocking this gear. Kayla, we have Ashley Calling Bear. She was first Native American Miss Universe. Dope. And she just did the Sports Illustrated. That's first dope. Time ever for a Native American woman to ever do Sports Illustrated.
So break it down for us. These prints, like, how
so
are these
basically
prints inspired?
Like, so this is I wanted us to be able, you know, my mother being Black and Native American, my mother always made sure that not only do I know who I am as an Oglala Lakota woman, but also all of the tribes. And then she was like, okay, you're a Black woman, but all your people also come from Africa on your father's side, and you're going to learn about all the tribes in Africa. So everything that I do, I'm always trying to work on ways on how to collaborate the Black and the red. And so what you see here is a Mali design from the Mali tribe in Africa, and then you also see the teepee design, which is our Ochechi Shakoi, Lakota, Nakota, and Dakota people design. So this is something that everyone can wear. It's not about appropriation, it's about appreciation. Because you know who's designing it, you know where it's coming from.
No,
So this
dope.
is something that everyone, you don't have to be native to wear this gear. So you could go to lxlbrand.com, lookinghorsexlonewolf.com.
Tell them again. If
It
they
is
see
lxlbrand.com or lookinghorsexlonewolf. Right here, LXL.
And so how
.com.
many do you have? Men designs?
Yeah,
Is
we
there
got
more?
men, we have women. We just this is from our winter collection. And so we just launched our spring summer collection. We got shorts, swimsuits, shoes, sliders, like all types of slides or whatever.
No, that's dope.
And hats and everything. And it's mostly athleisure wear, comfortable clothing, where you can be able to represent, wherever you at. And it's beautiful. We're getting people from all the way in Germany and in Korea, even, what I'm saying, that rocking and sending us pictures like, we love these clothes,
It's dope. It's dope.
Yeah.
So, let's take this all the way back to the beginning. Let's go back to your birthday's tomorrow.
Yeah. April 7th.
April 7th. So we're the same age.
Yeah.
So without me putting your age out there.
I don't mind. I'm 44 and I love
Okay,
it.
44.
I love it.
So let's take me back to 1978.
Yes.
Where'd you come from? How did this happen? How did this journey start? Like, take me back to 78, and then we're gonna walk it up.
Okay.
And get these people caught up to who you are, because you the queen. Like, they need to know who they queens are. Like,
Thank you.
On one of my interviews I had the other day, there was a lady that I interviewed named Lexi Michon. Beautiful young lady, good music, just good spirit.
Yeah.
And she keep blanketing statements like, we come from Africa, we come from kings and queens, and I was like, not all of us. Maybe the king's family, his bloodline, but not all of us.
Right. We do be saying that, right? But not all of us. You gotta know who your people are.
Yeah, but so this interview gives me an opportunity to introduce people to royalty that we have here in America. Sometimes I think we can get so caught up in looking over there for that diaspora of royalty that we miss the queens and the kings that live right here with us. Not only the bloodline and the family that you come from, but the way that you represent your life, the way that you represent your people, your culture, your everything you do, not just in music and fashion, but in activism and just you always have been represented as a queen, and your rap name is Queen. So that being said, take us back to 78 and how did this shit start?
Well, it goes a little bit before 78, before I was born. My mother, Waukegan Luther Wing, which means Red Thunder Woman, Juanetta Lone Wolf, is from Pine Ridge, South Dakota. She was born in Pine Ridge, raised in Pine Ridge on the res. Her mother died when she was about 3 years old, and she was basically kind of living on her own and raising her siblings on her own at such a young age. She went through the boarding schools where they stripped they was taking Native American children and putting them in Catholic boarding schools and stripping them from their names and, shaving their head and basically, colonizing them. And this was in the 50s, 60s, all the way up to the 1990s, Wow. So my mother in the 50s went through that, and in the 60s she went through that. There was an opportunity for my mom to be able to leave the reservation, and she ended up going to New York City and being the first Native American to work for NBC.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a good fun fact.
Yeah. So, and I'm giving you I'm working on a movie on my mother's life right now. I should know by the end of this month if this major network picks it up. So I'm excited.
Because your mom was one of the most special people that we ever had.
Yeah.
That's why I said, speaking of royalty that we have here in North America, you got it honest from both sides. But
I did.
Keep going with
So
the
my
story.
mother, she ended up being first Native American to work for NBC. She went to a party and she met Don King and Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali saw her and he was like, he called her Pocahontas. And my mom from that is Ogallala, Lakota, you know, from South Dakota don't know who Pocahontas is.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people think there's like over 500 federally and non-federally recognized tribes in the United States. There was no internet then.
Right.
You know, people didn't know each other like that. They didn't know, they barely knew their own tribal history, their own, like I said, boarding schools stripped languages, history, culture, you know, a lot of that out. So she didn't know who Pocahontas was, but she was like, okay, you want to call me Pocahontas Muhammad Ali? Call me Pocahontas. I didn't know, you know, she didn't know who Pocahontas was because she was from the Pequot, Wampanoag, Heath, and Narragansett people of Massachusetts. You know, so that's far away from South Dakota. And so she was his public relations director. She was the woman behind the Thriller in Manila, the Rumble in the Jungle, you know, all of the PR work that you saw during that time of the height of Muhammad Ali's career. With those relationships, she ended up meeting my father. My father was a fine artist from Brooklyn, New York. You know, he, as a matter of fact, his work is in the Smithsonian today. I mean, his stuff was like, he was like, how can I explain? What's the artist that did Obama and Michelle? The Obamas.
I don't know.
But he was like that then. Like, he was that artist that if you had his piece,
he was.
Like, it was a huge thing for you to have his art. So he was very, very well known, Thaddeus McCall. And they met, fell in love after a month, had a huge wedding in Beverly Hills Hotel. My mother's maid of honor was Jane Kennedy. You had Cuba Gooding Sr., the Four Tops, the Temptations. Honorable Minister Farrakhan married my mother and my father. Chief Ernie Longwalker married my mother and my father. It was the first time that Hollywood was in Black Hollywood was able to see the unity of the black and the red at this wedding. It was, you know, everyone that I talked to that's still alive, they said that was the best wedding till this day that they saw. They and my mother, because of her PR work and everything, she ended up doing all the PR for a protest called the Longest Walk. And it was in 1977 through 1978. They walked from Alcatraz, San Francisco to Washington, D.C. And my mother was pregnant with me during that longest walk. So she was doing all the PR while they walked from Alcatraz, San Francisco to Washington, D.C. And I was born in Washington, D.C. at Howard University Hospital. So I literally was born with my fist up. You know, my name, Yonasda, is a Navajo name, a Dene name. It means the precious jewel or the squash blossom necklace. I actually finally spoke to the man that named me. He was a tribal council member. It would come to me as I began to continue to talk. But he was telling me the story of why he gave me a Navajo name, because I'm not Navajo. And he said he named a lot of children. He was all like, oh, Larry Anderson is who named me. But Larry was telling me, he said, I named a lot of children names, Navajo names, because our language, we couldn't speak our language. So if I gave them these names, it kept our language alive. And I told him today, my name is a name that no one, like, even when they looked at the registry at the Navajo Nation, they said no one was named Yonasda, which is very rare, you know, because it's this one of the prominent jewelry pieces that they wear. And so he was saying that I said, well, people all over now say Yonasda if they get it right, you know. And so it's a great honor to carry that name. And so I was literally born with my fist up in 1978 during the longest walk. So that's where I get all my firing.
Dope. Like, that's dope. Like, that even takes me back to that interview I was just having the other day where I was telling the young lady, like, some of the dreams and goals and wishes of your ancestors manifest themselves through you. You might be the representation of the dream that was 2 generations before you. You know, like Minister Farrakhan says one day, he said, I was watching a speech and he said, all those waiting on their Mahdi, all those waiting on their Messiah, and all those waiting on whoever y'all waiting on, I'm his representative. And that's just so deep, like, to just be able to represent generations before you and be valid in your representation. But let's keep going. So You were born going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were in DC. How did you end up in Arizona?
So, my mother, what you didn't know about my father is that my father was also a con artist. Like he used to love money. He used to love conning. He was a part of the Jewish mafia. Like that's how deep his roots go in Brooklyn. You know, it was a major Jewish mob boss. I forgot his name. I remember meeting him in the 90s, and he owned one of the biggest, tallest buildings in New York. And when he passed away, like they shut down all of Manhattan when he passed. Like I don't remember his name. I wish I can now, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, who was that guy I met and that raised my father, you know?
He's part of your story.
Yeah. He's probably something like, but I need to ask my father because my father's still alive. But so he was in and out of prison. And he was using my mother's, he would say sugarman to a schnala, which means lone wolf. And so he will put her name down, and they was looking for her, you know, for like different things he was doing or whatever. And so she ended up being on the run from the feds, and I lived everywhere. like literally everywhere. That's why I'm able to relate to people, California, like DC, Maryland, like everywhere. So then the Honorable Minister Farrakhan was looking for my mother because he was rebuilding the Nation of Islam, and he just obtained the property. He was working on obtaining the property in Southside Phoenix. And so he was like, you know, I want you to help me. I want you to help me get Native Americans, you know, not converting them to be Muslim, but in regards to creating a unity of sovereignty, you know, just like a history goes, you know, with Black Wall Street and all of this history of that, we always saw the unity of the Black and the Native American. So he was like, and it's also in the teachings. Which is in our lessons, is what's the population of the original nation in the Western Hemisphere. It's the 17 million blacks with the 2 million Indians equals 19 million, you know, in the Western Hemisphere. You know what I'm saying? Original people in the Western Hemisphere. So that's in our teachings, you know. And one thing the minister taught me was that the word with doesn't mean you be like one another. We're not like trying to be alike, you know what I'm saying? He said it means accompanied by, you know. So if we are acknowledging that the original people in the Western Hemisphere is the Black and, you know, and the Native Americans, that with is accompanied by, how do we be able to build in the Western Hemisphere together, you know? And so he went to my mother and was like, can you help me do a prayer for the Power at Last Savior's Day? And so my mother said, okay, you know, she took him into his first sweat lodge ceremony. Then in that sweat lodge ceremony, everything became very clear to him in regards to the work that he saw my mother to do. He ended up working with Muammar Gaddafi, or President Muammar Gaddafi, and Muammar Gaddafi used to do these indigenous conferences, and my mother was helping with these indigenous conferences. She was getting the American Indian movement, the Chicano movement. Like during that time, Gaddafi wanted to fund anyone that was against this government, really, you know, and to be able to help everyone to become free. And he had a huge love affair for indigenous Native American people here in North America and in South America. So he would pay planes and you know, because, you know, he had all this money from oil, you know, and they would go out to Libya. Russell Means, Dennis Banks, my mother, you know, name them, they all went, you know, Black Panthers, like everybody was going out there. Now, because my mother was on the run, so that she ended up doing like 3 months in jail or whatever when she was on probation. So then she ended up going to Libya. So she's out there, they're looking at like, okay, she's having, you know, what is she doing with Muammar Gaddafi and Minister Farrakhan and all these, you know, activists, freedom fighters, everyone that is a public enemy number one to this, you know, to this government, you know. And so they ended up plotting a FBI agent to work at the Phoenix Palace. My mother, the minister, ended up moving all of us to Phoenix, to Southside Phoenix. We were staying with Brother Jabril and his wife at the time. Basically, you know, an FBI agent was like, okay, who do we have around the minister that has a prior record? And it was my mother. And they went to my mother and said, would you like to be an informant? And my mother said, hell no. And so they gave her 7 years in prison. And when they gave her 7 years in prison, that's when Minister Farrakhan adopted me and my brother. And we ended up moving to Chicago. And we was out there during the time my mother was in prison. And then we ended up moving back to Phoenix when she came out.
That's dope. Dope. And so when you're, dang, that's why I wanted to interview you. You know, because there's so many people here that hear about you. There's so many people who see things about you, but they don't know the pedigree of the queen. You know, and that's what I'm gonna put in the heading of this. Like, you know what I mean? Like the queen of the melanated people. Like,
oh my God.
Like, no,
I can see
like,
the haters now.
No, real grind. So when you end up back here and your mom comes home, what was it like going through those transitions of knowing your mom is gone and now you with the minister, so you're in a...
It's a culture shock.
But it's a lot of love as well.
It's a lot of love, but it was a culture shock.
Mm-hmm.
I was, you know, and this is the thing what a lot of people don't understand. My mother's Native American. She's not a black woman. Her experience is reservation, Oglala Lakota, Native American. Yes, she was around black people and learned a lot from black people. She's not a black woman. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So everything I learned was from a Native American woman perspective, you know, and like, you know, about spirits and spirituality in the sense of, you know, we're related to, we have a connection to the trees, the birds, and all of that, you know, to going into a religious infrastructure. You know, and I'm all talking about spirits, and they're like, we don't believe in no spook God. You know what I'm saying? And I'm all like, wait, no, my mom taught me, you know. Yeah. So it was a culture shock for me. It was a major culture shock for me, but it was love. You know, Maria Muhammad, the minister's daughter, and Olive Muhammad, who is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's nephew. You know, they raised me and Julio. We lived with them. And so they gave us, I still tell them today that they gave me the best childhood that I could ever ask for. Because it's not like, you know, my mother did do the best that she could, but she was on the run from the feds. We, like, our room was the back of the pickup truck. You know what I'm saying? In hotels, and I remember having to, you know, grab all of my my cousins and my baby brother when he just was born and hide them in a closet because the feds was coming in. You know, like, this was my experience, and it was the first time that I was able to be a kid again by living in Chicago. And we went to Disney World, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have birthday parties were huge for us, you know, because they didn't, you know, in Islam, you know, you don't celebrate holidays, you know, so birthday parties are huge, you know. So it was like birthday parties were huge for me, and it was beautiful, like the best childhood ever. And but the thing is that I learned very quickly, because when you're around the most loving man that you would ever meet, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, and he's basically like a father to me. The way that he was, like, you know, just being a father that I needed in my life, you know, and then having to defend that, and not understanding at a young age why no one loves this man. He's amazing, you know what I'm saying? And having to learn from another way of, like, okay, oh, that's why you hating on him. Well, let me educate you real quick. And so we was constantly defending who we are, our family, the minister, you know, especially this was like 80s, 88 going into the 90s, you know.
He was really on fire back then.
On Donahue, on every news. He would be,
then.
you know, before TMZ, he'll be at a restaurant, they would have a news thing about him. Minister Farrakhan was spotted at a restaurant, like, you know what I'm saying, like, everywhere. And so I learned, that was the first time I learned how to debate, how to defend, you know, and to speak the honest truth, like really, really, like being fearless amongst people I didn't know, and constantly having to defend. Like I always had to defend him in our family in school with against on the with the teachers and classmates, and from what their parents was telling them. So yeah.
That's amazing. Like you had to grow up quick.
Yeah,
you didn't
I
have
had to grow up very, very fast.
Wasn't no. That's why you was moving so fast.
Yeah,
you already had a toolbox.
Yeah, I did,
wow.
And I think all of that is why I'm able to relate and connect with people. You could drop me off anywhere in the world. I just went to Costa Rica, and I was like, man, these my people. I'm going to Panama in May. I'm gonna be like, those my people. Like I already, I went to Cuba, and I was like, man, these my people. Like I'm able to see the similarities of who we are more than our differences, because of the fact that of everything I went through, being on and then having to make friends fast. I had to make friends fast, and I thank God that a lot of them that are still my friends today.
Yeah, those are real friends. So when you ended up coming back here, how old were you, and what was it like now leaving this?
It was another
world
culture
that
shock.
You were in Chicago.
Yeah,
and now you're
like we was living in a big old house, and what I'm saying, like brand new clothes all the time, hair salon appointments, everything, to now my mother in a halfway house, and still I was trying my best to be patient with her, because I didn't know that my mother was in prison. I just know my mom was gone. They never told me that your mother went to prison. They said your mother's on vacation. And then when we used to go down to the prison, it looked like apartments. It looked luxury. She was in like a federal penitentiary in Fort Worth, Texas. And so we would go on family days. And family days, you could go into where she's staying at, and she's wearing regular clothes. And so I was like, oh, so she's just working, or she's working down here. Like,
yeah.
I didn't think it was prison, and it was sad that every time I would leave her, I knew my dad was in prison, because it was totally different. Like you were seeing like jail cells and everything in the men's penitentiary. I used to hate seeing my father. I was like, why is he here? Like I didn't understand it. With my mother, I didn't think she was in prison. I didn't know that she went to prison until I was about 14 years old, when she sat down with me and was all like, okay, let me tell you where I was at, and so I was trying to be patient with her, because I miss my mom. I really missed her. But I was so used to a certain lifestyle, and she was doing her best, but she couldn't keep up with the minister's lifestyle, and to be able to get my hair done and all and all of that. But she did the best that she could, and to see her growth through that process. So she ended up, when she came out of prison, she ended up working for OK Community. I don't know if you remember OK Community here. It was like the first, it was like a substance abuse prevention program and gang prevention program.
That's what I remember your mom doing.
Yeah, and so she started working with OK Community on gang prevention, substance and alcohol abuse prevention. She really started learning more about healing and how to do counseling and help and rehabilitation and all of that. And this was like at the beginning of this. This is like now everyone has a house and a group home and all that. This is like way beginning of that life, and she was one of the people that did that. So she ended up working for, at the time it was called Guiding Star Lodge. Today it's called Native Connections. It's the largest Native American rehabilitation center for drug and alcohol abuse for Native American families, for men, women, and children. Children can actually live with their parents while they're getting rehab, And so my mother was helping Dee Dee Yazzie with the beginning of all of that, and she was I think her position was like executive director or something, putting together programs and all of that. And so seeing my mother find her way you know, was inspiring to me. And she was always dragging me and Julio along, you know, me and my brother. Like, okay, y'all are coming to this workshop. Y'all got to come here. We got to come here, you know. And then her networking with because as you know, here in Phoenix was such a small black community. It's like less than 1%, you know, especially in the early 90s, you know. And her bringing in the Native American community, the black community, the Latino community, the white community, like everyone to come together to fight on different issues, which was one of them, the Dr. Martin Luther King holiday. And with her influence in the sports industry, working with Muhammad Ali and all these other athletes, you know, she was all like, let's get these athletes to boycott the Super Bowl in order for us to, you know, to get a Dr. King holiday. So she was very instrumental in that process for us to get a Dr. King holiday. So she did a lot of amazing things.
No, I remember that. I remember all that Proposition 504 or whatever it was, something like that. Like your mom, Walter Payton, a whole bunch of them. Like,
it was like their crew.
Yeah, we used to go up to ASU and pick up the trash just to get free tickets to go to the game.
Yeah,
they like, y'all pick up the trash and pass out the. I had the like the ribbons your mom had. She gave us like some flags or something. Like I had them all on the wall in my room. Like we getting this Martin Luther King holiday. It was like. But so how was that like? With your mom sitting down and breaking it down to you, like, look, this is where I was at, and then you seeing her, like rebrand herself and on a whole nother level, like, what did that do to you as a young girl, and what did that do to your confidence and your psyche to help you kind of become who you became?
I was so in awe. I was like, oh, I want to be like her, and I can never fit her shoes. Like, I was like, I can't fit her shoes. She was like, because it was something about my mother that anytime she walked in the room, everyone was looking at this woman. And I'm like behind her and I'm looking, I'm like, wow. Like, she was like my role model. Like, she was like, I wanted to be her so bad, you know? And seeing the way that she would just make a room just shift. You know, and they're like, who is that woman? Who is, you know, and the way that she spoke, you know, and gosh, she was so off the chain, you know, and her love for youth, for young people, you know. I think that with her having me and Julio, you know, she really was like, okay, what are y'all listening to, you know? Yeah. And I'll be like, oh, we listen to Biggie or Wu-Tang or Nas and, you know, Warren G. And, you know, she was listening to that with us. You remember, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then she's like, okay, everybody come to my house. She used to have everyone at the, you know, in the backyard for the barbecues and all of that. And it was just always fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, she
kicked us out of her house one time. Shout out Taji. Shout out Taji. Shout out Taji. Shout out Taji and rest in peace, Taji. Aline.
Yes.
When your mom kicked us out, we was jumping out the window and we was running. She kicked us out. She called my house. I told my sister, I said, Tana, answer the phone and pretend like you mama. Your mom was so cool. She was like, this is not your mom. No, your mom was the
You're
bomb.
the only one that didn't get in trouble because you had your sister answer the phone.
Yeah.
Everybody else, my mother was on the phone with everybody's mother. All of us was on punishment.
We used to have fun.
We used to have fun. Me and the tutor was like, oh, we're going to sneak all of y'all come to the house.
Yeah, and we had our own party.
We having our own party. And because we live so far, it's either you're going to spend the night or you got to leave at a certain time. And man, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was the best.
And then she was like, get down here. Because there was a dog on the other side. It was a dog on the other side. She was like, get down before that dog bites you.
She was still worried about us.
Yeah.
Even though she kicking us out, she was still worried about us. Like, make sure we get home. Call me when y'all get home. Let me know that like, your mom was bomb.
Yeah.
So, like, remember she did
the Children of Color parade.
Yeah.
All the Martin Luther King marches.
No, she did everything.
Everything for everybody to, and that was the beautiful part, is that she created everything for us to do.
I used to think your mom was Mother Tanetta.
because they very similar.
Yeah, and
Mother
their
Tanetta,
look and the thing, like their contribution to life. Like a lot of people don't know who Mother Tanetta is, but these are queens. Like I'm saying, like North American queens. Like, but you're like a descendant of these women.
Yeah.
Like
Mother Tanetta was like a second mother to her, and second mother to me. She lived in our house for a minute, and she was teaching my mother Islam, and she was teaching her like all of these teachings from what. So Mother Tanetta was the wife of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Mother Tanetta traveled the world and it was telling us stories about how Honorable Elijah Muhammad, without no security and everything, how he used to go to the Hopi reservation, the Navajo, and learn from them. And learn and try to have an understanding of and go to ceremonies and all of that stuff, and so Mexico everywhere, and so because of that connection, my mother and Mother Tanetta were kindred sisters,
Yeah, Mother Tanetta, Sister Evelyn.
Yeah.
Like it was some, like.
Yeah.
Just being in the nation and around the nation at that time was special for us as kids. Like just all of us, like our crew, whether if it was dancing, whether if it was whatever we was doing, like our crew was just dope. Like, and we've all kind of grown up to be like some dope people. Yeah. But it was all out of that. You said earlier, you used the word creative, and you was referring to us being out here in the desert and just and I never looked at it that way. Like I've always looked at it like we didn't have shit here, so if we wanted it, we had to do it. Yeah. And I still feel that way. Yeah. But the word that I failed to use in that is the creative part.
We were creatives. We had to be creative. And today we're now dope innovator creatives because we come from. In Phoenix, you're in the middle of the desert. And it's like, all right, I remember when my mother said, you guys go outside and play. We used to climb these mountains. Who else would climb these mountains? You know what I'm saying? Like we literally will be climbing the mountains and then coming up with games on the mountain, Ghosts in the Graveyard or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or we would hear these stories from Native American friends of those from this region that would tell us about the rock people and all these different stories that we would continue to share, or our Mexican friends that would tell us about the chupacabra. How you say it,
chupacabra? Yeah, that's close.
Yeah, chupacabra. Is it chupacabra? You don't remember? Talking to the cameraman. So all of those type of stories, but all of that like helped us with our imagination, you know what I'm saying? And then as we got older, man, we was like, all right, we made Mill pop. But Mill Avenue didn't pop before.
But before we get to that part, what made you take this creative mind that you had and the friendships, the relationships, all of the different things that you encountered to get to wherever you was at and say that I think I got something? Because you was like, I want to say you started, like we were dancing and entertaining and doing stuff. You were young. Like what made you, like where did this click that this is my route that I'm going to take?
I think what it was is that, like before mommy went to prison, I was around Muhammad Ali. I was around as a little girl. Like Eddie Kendricks is my second cousin. He was my second cousin. So I used to go to the Temptations rehearsal and the Four Tops, and like I was around all these Motown greats, and so that was always like my first love with music, hip hop. When we was on a run from the feds, we was in Venice Beach. I saw Rock Steady Crew West Coast breakdancing, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? Because I'm around. See, my childhood was, I will be in a room with the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Chief Ernie Longwalker, Dolores Horte, like all of these amazing, like freedom fighters talking about how they see the world today, and I will be the little girl in the little corner right here and just listening. And while all the kids were playing, I would just like want to listen to, and I didn't know who everybody was. I didn't know I was going to be around people that we now talk about in history books. I just was around thought leaders, and I would just sit there and just listen. And I'm like, wow, that would be a beautiful world. that would be amazing, you know. And my father, when he was in prison, he used to write me these letters of how he saw like ideas that he want to do. Like, oh, I want to have a soul food restaurant or this or that, or, you know. And so I know that I get it from my father's side. I know I get it from my mother, and I also know I get it from the experiences that I was around. And so it clicked for me. I used to always, like, because I had made quick friendships.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have imaginary friends. Yeah. As a child, like as a little girl.
I think I got some now.
Yeah.
I got a couple of them now.
Like one of them was like Bob, Pam, Sally. Like I still remember that. I don't know. They might have been like some spirits from a long time ago that wanted to be friends with me. But I actually was like, my imagination was off the chain. And I used to actually put on plays to myself and act like I'm all the characters. Yeah. Because I had no one to play with, you know. So, and my mother just watched me and see me, you know, like, what is this girl doing? But she always saw me as being talented, you know. And so I was always writing and singing, you know. My mom like, get up and sing, get up and dance, you know. Even when I was in Chicago, they'd be like, get up and sing, get up and dance, you know, and all of that. And the minister taught me how to play the violin, you know. And so I was always, you know, loving entertainment and all of that. I think that the moment it clicked in regards to like us being like, you know, like very popular and all for me was when me and Achuda and Bridget, we started singing. And my mother was like, I'm gonna manage you guys. And so she had us doing like different, you know, shows around here or whatever. And I saw Achuda dancing Smooth But Funky with Cedric Ceballos. And I was like, I want to dance. I don't want to sing no more. Because like they're opening up, they're doing powerhouses, like everything. I was like, I want to get there. And my mother was like, y'all would get there. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, but I want to dance. It seemed easier. You know what I'm saying? Like she had Stevie Wonder like about to sign us. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to dance. And so she was like, you know what? Okay. So she ended up was like, okay, I'm going to manage you guys dancing. And we ended up doing everything dancing, you know. And I think at that time, it was like either you rap. I don't think singers were doing that well here, you know. And dance crews was like lit, you know what I'm saying? So that's what it was. And I think with my mother mentoring me, even though she was managing us, with my mother mentoring me in regards to like, this is how you make a call to book a show. This is how, because remember, she was working for Muhammad Ali. She was the PR behind major talent, you know. So she was teaching me these things early, like at the age of 14. Like, this is okay, you're gonna call Magic, you're gonna call Art Jackson, you're gonna call Magic 107, and you're gonna see if they'll sponsor you guys. So I ended up having Magic 107 sponsor Abstract, our dance group, you know, and we ended up opening up for Brandy, and we did everything. So it was early, you know.
And how did that feel, just like conquering something, like being, because you went from just being like the pretty girl that we all know is Farrakhan's granddaughter to just blowing up to being like, damn, their dance group is really, like you and Achuda, like y'all was really good. Yeah. Like Smooth But Funky was good, but Abstract was really good.
We were like the female Wu-Tang, you know, and Tammy and Lisa, Angela, you know, Angela looked like J-Lo, you know.
Yeah, y'all had the whole crew.
Yeah, we had everybody. It was like 12 of us, you know. Keisha, like all of us. Michonne, Creisha, like it was all of us. Like we was like, dope.
Going from there, how did you get into, because from that part of dancing and being here and being dope and dancing, you just like popped up on TV. Like, how did that?
So I used to always, transition? You know, I used to always say everything I said that I'm gonna do, like you. Everything you say you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? It's that fire energy. You're a fire sign. I'm a fire sign. Like when we say we're gonna do something, we're gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? And I used to every Saturday I used to watch BET's Teen Summit faithfully. Like I would wake up in the morning and watch Teen Summit, and I was like, I'm gonna dance on that show one day. I wonder how they dance. I bet they making money. I bet you they are just rich. Like, you know, on this TV, you know.
Yeah.
So I started dancing for Foot Clan, and I did Soul Train, was, you know, with Foot Clan. Shout out to Daryl and Foot Clan, you know. And I was like, okay, this is possible to be on TV. So I ended up, before BET's Teen Summit, when I graduated, I ended up going to New York University. I was like, I'm out. I'm leaving Phoenix. I'm going to New York. Like, New York, I used to love my mother's life story so much that it was like, in a way, I kind of wanted to live her life, you know? So she went to New York. I was like, I'm going to New York. And my mother was scared. Like, oh my God, my child is going to New York. KRS-One, my mother put in a call to KRS-One, and then I ended up working as an internship with Island Black Music. And I worked in the promotions department of Island Black Music. And so I was doing, like, I was in the tunnel doing, you know, all of the promo and marketing for Drew Hill In My Bed remix. Like, I was calling all the DJs saying, play Drew Hill, play Kelly Price, you know what I'm saying? Like, grassroots street marketing, mixtapes. I was on the phone with Clue, Flex, all of them saying, here's Drew Hill, here's Kelly Price, here's Sugar Free, you know what I'm saying? Here's Myron, like all the artists on their roster. And I created the first female street team in New York City, to the point that Diddy, we was at the tunnel, I had like all fly females from Abstract, you know, and I, you know, because coming from Phoenix, you got to be creative. So I was like, okay, what is different? What is not being done here? I'm seeing a whole bunch of guys, you know, passing out flyers, street teams, you know, stickers everywhere, and they just look rugged, you know? Like, people want to see their stuff, you know, a mixtape, whatever promo you have, like, looking really good. So I was like, I'm going to get, let me use America Online, and I'm gonna find some beautiful women that are on the hustle, that love hip hop, and we're gonna create a street team. So we would call Island Divas with Island Black Music. And so we was like, you know, looking fly, giving out promo stuff. So Diddy saw it, and he started the Bad Girl street team. Like, street teams were like dance crews in a way. Like, they were huge in New York. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be a part of a street team was like, it's official tissue right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have VIP, Tunnel, all the Palladium, like all of the clubs out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was lit. So, and I'm 18 years old, mind you. So then New York beat my behind. Once winter came, I was all like, no, I'm going back to Phoenix, you know? So I ended up not graduating from New York. I mean, New York University. I only was there for a semester, you know? Came back here, went to Phoenix College, and then I was like, I'm going to DC. I'm gonna try DC next, you know? So I go to DC. In DC, Baltimore area. I stayed with my aunt on my father's side, and plus I wanted to get to know my father's side of the family. You know, I wasn't raised with them, you know, and I was like, so I stayed with my aunt. As a matter of fact, my aunt lives in Phoenix now, you know.
You brought her back with you.
Yeah. She lives in Phoenix now. But so I stayed with her, and I was a talent agent for a modeling agency, and acting agency. And I was on the phone with someone or whatever, and they was like, yeah, you know, oh, I'm a Teen Summit Posse member. And this is like my first week in DC. And I was like, what? Oh my God, I want to be on Teen Summit. And she was like, oh, how old are you? And at this time, when I went back, I was about like 19 years old, 19, 20. She's like, oh, it's posse members can only be up to 18. She's like, but this weekend they're looking for dancers. You could be 18 and up. And I was like, oh my God, this weekend. So I went and I got it. And guess how much I was getting paid a taping?
How much?
$25 a taping. I thought, but see, this was my first experience of fame that I learned very quick of me being famous in a way. I'm on Teen Summit getting $25 a taping. I'm on Planet Groove. They wasn't even paying dancers, but I was like, hustled my way and was like, no, I'm an asset. You all need to give me something because I am busting my behind for you guys to make this show lit. And I'm bringing dancers. So they was like, all right, how much you want? I said $50 a taping. They said, all right, cool. Then I was on BET Soundstage. They was like, we really need dancers for this show. I said, okay. you gonna give me $75 in taping.
Yeah.
So I was like, and this is when Bob Johnson was owning BET, but I was in every department, I was like, even sometimes you see me on BET News. Like from 1998 all the way to 2000, you saw my behind on BET like all the time, but the reality check was the fact that I was in a small little, I forgot what kind of car I had, a Geo Metro. I had a Geo Metro. I'm working a 9 to 5 and doing dancing, but everyone thought that I was balling.
Because they see you on TV.
They see me on TV, and because I'm on BET, I'm getting VIP treatment everywhere, from the whole East Coast, Philly, everywhere. They're like, "Oh, that's Yo-Yo from BET. Get her on. Yeah, she could come in." And I'm around mad celebrities. I was in the studio with DMX and Swizz Beatz on when they was recording their second album. And listening to that. I was always at the studios, Sony Studios. My boy used to work at Sony, so I used to always be going up to artists and like, "Can I dance for you? You need a choreographer?" That they're like, "Yeah," and which led me to being on Foxy Brown's Big Bag Mama music video with Drew Hill. And then I was just dancing for various artists, Kelly Price. I ended up dancing for her and just doing a whole bunch of dancing. Like, that's all. And then I was like, man, you don't get paid for this. And I ended up leaving, and then I ended up coming here back to Phoenix, Arizona again. Like, Phoenix was always like
home base.
Yeah, my mom lived here, so I was like, "Mommy, I'm coming home." I got mugged by a guy that looked like Denzel Washington.
What was that about? You thought he was macking and he was trying to fight?
It was like 5 in the morning. I'm on my way to Teen Summit, because we, taping were early on Saturday morning. I have my bag. I'm at the bus stop, and it's like right across the street it's on Georgia Avenue. This is DC before it's gentrified DC. This is DC, like, this is when Chocolate City.
Yeah, this is Chocolate City.
Crack, epidemic.
Mayor, what's his name?
Yeah, like, this is DC. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like 5 in the morning, and some guys, giving out the newspaper and everything, and I'm just like, I'm so exhausted. So I closed my eyes. Next thing you know, this guy, I was like, "Oh, this guy look like Denzel. He ain't gonna do nothing to me." So I looked, because he looked good, you know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, man, that guy jumped on me, grabbed my bag. I was like, "I don't have nothing." Like, I didn't have anything. I was young, Man, he stole, and the thing that he stole that was the most valuable to me was my address book. One thing my father taught me was to keep an address book, and to keep they said the most valuable, forget money and all that. If you have connections, that's where your real money comes from. Your real, where your relationships. And so my address book, he took I had everyone's number in there. Everyone that came through Teen Summit, I was like, "Let me get your number." BET, let me get your number, and then so I had these relationships. And I remember as a child, I would see my mother with her address book. She had, like, name whoever, she had everyone's name in there, Ice Cube, like, everybody in there. And sometimes I would call those numbers, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Pocahontas's daughter." They're like, "Oh man, how you been? Where's she at?" Like, I was trying to keep those relationships alive for my mother,
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I still have some of those relationships.
I wish I had those type of books now. Like,
yeah,
like my mom had those books, and now, like, I got more numbers in my phone than I had in those books. But in my phone, like, it's easy to just forget a number. It's easy to just overlook a person. It's easy to just like, boom, like, it's weird when it's right there in your hand, and all you gotta do is put their name in it, a couple letters, and it's gonna pop up. But you might not even have you might have misspelled their name, or you might have saved the number with no name, or you might have saved the name, but you got like for you, I probably have 3 numbers. I got like a 8 something area code, a 480, and so it's like I might be, when I'm hitting your name to call you, I might be calling the number that was turned off 10 years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just like when you had it written out, it kind of made it seem like it was a little bit more dope. But let's get back on your story. So once you realize, like, this dancing shit ain't paying me nothing, I'm just really wasting my time, I'm coming home, is that when you started rapping?
I came back here, and I met a guy by the name of Side Street Ked. Side Street Ked is from Atlanta, Georgia. He moved out here. He was on Mill Avenue. He had these dope palm trees. Like, the palm trees that we be having, like the base of it, the bottom of the palm tree. He was making masks out of them things. And I was like, yo, those are dope. And he was like eccentric type of guy. Like, and I was like, where are you from? He's like, oh, I'm from Georgia. I'm from Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yeah, you giving me like outcast feel. But anyway, come to find out, his cousin is Ray. That founded the Dungeon family, Organized Noise. That's Ray. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, oh yeah, my cousin is Ray, and his other cousin is Ava DuVernay, the director. And so anyway, he was a dope MC, and he was like, let me hear some of you. I was like, I do poetry. Because remember during that time, that was like HB, you know what I'm saying? And the Norik, all this poet stuff or whatever.
Yeah, it was coming.
And so I was doing poetry and all of that, and, doing the whole and the incense and all, we all went through our Erykah Badu phase. Don't know if you remember my Erykah Badu. I used to have like my little raps and... So I went through my but which was dope because that was also all a part of me too, of understanding those teachings, you know what I'm saying, and being around the 5%ers and learning all of that, you know what I'm saying. So it was like I was writing these rhymes, and Malik Youssef was helping me with that, writing poetry. And then Side Street Ked was like, you need to turn these poems into raps, and my first song was called A Love Song. And it was produced by New York West Entertainment, Shout out to Chris, Hollywood, who still does stuff for people, New York West Entertainment. I did it at Boo Boo FREEZ, the studio, you know what I'm saying? I now FREEZ, at the time Boo Boo. I recorded it there. I had my cousin Jamila sing on it, and my friend Ebony, who danced on Teen Summit with me, but she moved out here to go to ASU. And so I had her sing on it as well. It freaking blew up. It was on all the radio stations. I only had one song, and it was on all the radio stations. I ended up doing a whole Southwest tour with one song. And then I would come out with now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get a fog machine. I'm gonna have the dancers come out. We was doing clubs in Tempe and Mexico and California and everything, and I was like, oh, we gonna go all out with this show, with my one song, They was all like, it was so dope to the point that, so my brother was working for Cadillac at the time, and Funkmaster Flex had a car show at the Celebrity Theater. And my brother was like, oh, no. So now my experience from New York with the street team and all of that, working for the music business. And then I'm applying all of these things to myself. And I was like, all right. I said, let's find nothing but fly models. And I always had beautiful woman friends, you know what I'm saying? So I was
call the homies. Huh?
Yeah. Let me call the homies. So they all had t-shirts that said First Lady of AZ, and my brother had 7 of the newest Cadillacs, trucks. This is Escalades before 50 had one, before, you know what I'm saying? Man, we went through that car show, blasting. I did end up doing one other song, and it was called Why Oh Why Oh. So it was like Why Oh Why Oh, and you hearing that as everyone coming to the car show, Flex was like, he was like, who the hell is Why Oh Why? Where these trucks come from? He was like, what the hell is going on, And I gave him my music, and he was like, man, are you performing? I was like, nah. Because he was like, well, you need to perform. Let me get your number. You know what I'm saying? And so he ended up getting my number. He did play my song on his radio, during his mix and all that stuff in New York. And I got a call from someone from the Neptunes that Pharrell was looking for a female rapper. And I was like, man, this is it. You know what I'm saying? And my mother passed. My mother died of lung cancer. And after that, I was like, I'm done. I'm not picking up this pen no more, And at this time, they're like, so Pharrell's people are calling me, and I'm like, nope. Flex calling me, nope. Everybody, they was like, but Chris Hollywood was like, I got offers from this and this. I'm like, nope. My mother died. Ain't nothing like, when you lose your mother, it's something that it's a part of you that you lose. You know what I'm saying? And I went through a major depression. Like, for real, Freeze. Like, I almost committed suicide several times. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it was very, very difficult. And
how did you get through that time?
My son, Chiron. My son was like 2 years old. And like, I had a knife one time, just about to slip my wrist. And my son, he knew but probably didn't know. He's banging on the door. He's like, mommy, 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 just over and over. And I was like, fuck, And I was like, all right, I gotta live for him. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I started to do. I was like, I gotta live for this one. I was in an abusive relationship at the time, like he turned to Jekyll and Hyde right after my mother passed. Threw me down the stairs one time, choked me, everything. Very abusive. And I was just like, but it was my son. It was Chiron. And I said, you know what? My ex at the time, he was working. He came home to an empty house. I was in a car driving to Baltimore. I was like, I'm leaving Phoenix. I went to Baltimore, and when I was in Baltimore, I was like, this is a new, fresh start, everything. I was on Black Planet. I met this guy on Black Planet. He was like, yo, you new to Baltimore? And I was like, yeah, I used to live here. Whoopie-whoop. He was like, yo, I heard you, because I had my music up on Black Planet in MySpace. You know what I'm saying? So he was all like, come to the studio. So I was like, all right. So I meet him, Star Spangled and Sonny Brown. And I met them at the studio. Dope. Star Spangled Beats was crazy. I was like, oh my God. So it got me back. And I was like, this is probably what because my mother wrote something. I found one of my rhyme books. And I didn't even see it until I went to Baltimore. My mother wrote me a note that said, keep writing. She's like, your writings I'm about to start crying. But she was like, your writings are going to help so many young women. Just keep sharing your story. So I was like, man, that was my mom talking to me. So I was like back in the studio. Star Spangled called me, one time, and he was like, yo, guess who I got in the studio? I was like, who? He was like, Capadonna from the Wu-Tang Clan. So I was all like, oh snap, like what? Like he was all, he want to talk to you. So Cap was all like, Assalamu alaikum. I was like, walaikum salam. And he was like, man, I just heard one of your songs. He's like, I want you on 5 of my songs. I was like, oh my God, what? Like, I just started, I'm not that good. He was like, no, you good enough. I want you on 5 of my songs. So I ended up meeting up with him. And we recorded, like we was together every single day recording. Man, we still have so many songs that have never been released. Mm-hmm. Like we recorded so much that it ended up turning into me falling in love with him. You know what I'm saying? And then went through an up and down roller coaster relationship, but got married, and we have our son, and now I'm divorced. You know what I'm saying? But from that, I learned so much from Cap as an artist. What
was that like, being like the queen of the melanated people?
Please don't make that as a headline.
Being the queen of the melanated people, and being like, you coming up under the minister, mm-hmm. your mother, mm-hmm. Brother Jabril, who I believe is an angel.
Yes.
You've had encounters with some of the most beautiful people in this world.
Yeah. And
then to marry one of the members of the Wu.
Right.
I know that was like almost like the cherry on the top. Like, just like, I like, yeah. Like life has its experiences. So y'all went up, down, whatever y'all went through is personal. But
yeah,
the feeling that you had in that moment, was that like how did that feel at that moment? Being a fan, being all of these different emotions.
I wasn't fazed by him. I love Wu-Tang.
No, I know you probably wasn't fazed by him as a celebrity.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about your celebrity.
Yeah.
And in that moment, because in that moment, y'all was kind of like Remy and Papoose, or this and this. It was like a power. It was like a, you know what I mean? It was like a.
I think what it was is that there were, for us, him and I went to God, what is it called? and you got to bear with me on remember. Oh, I went to Show and Prove in Harlem at the school. A Show and Prove is like, once a year where the nation of gods and earths comes together, and they have, it's like, equivalent to like a Savior's Day, And I went to the Show and Prove, and the love that I received by being the minister's granddaughter and then coming with Cap, it was like they looked at us as the unity, because you got to remember, of the history of the Nation of Islam, there was a division with Father Clarence 13X and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, and then with the minister, rebuilding the nation, then, some 5%ers were loving the minister, then you had some that wasn't. You know what I'm saying? And then you had so it was a lot of this politics that was happening. So to see me come in, and Wu-Tang represents the nation of gods and earths. They are the nation of gods and earths. You know what I'm saying? Everything about them is Show and Prove and mathematics and supreme wisdom and all of that, between them, Poor Righteous Teachers, Rakim, these are hip-hop artists that Nation of Fires and Nation of Gods and Earths was looking at these are they gods, what I'm saying? So to see me roll up with him was a new day for some of the elders, what I'm saying, that was there. They was wow, man, this is a new day. We're gonna see this unity happen again. So that's when he was like, okay, I need to polish you on your lessons, because you got to remember, I was growing up, I wasn't in the mosque every Sunday and all the time, what I'm saying, I was sometimes, but in Chicago I really wasn't. I was more in the mosque when I was here in Phoenix, what I'm saying. But in regards to those teachings and all of that, a lot of that went out the window. So he was like, okay, let me work with you on this. And then he said to me, where Queen comes in was, he was like, all right, he's like, you know what? Hip hop needs a queen, like Queen Latifah, the queens of hip hop. He said, man, I'm gonna turn you into a queen. Your name is Queen Yonasda. That's your new rap name. That he gave me Queen Yonasda. I didn't see myself as a queen. I was like, a queen? I'm not a queen. He said, do you know who you are? Everything was a way of life for me. He was like, do you know who you are? Do you know your story? Your story is not normal. Do know that your story is not? I thought it was normal. It was normal for me to say, oh, but yeah, my mother worked for Muhammad Ali and my grandfather's Minister Farrakhan. All that was normal to me. But he showed me nah, you're not normal. You're a queen. You're royalty. People outside call your family the royal family. You're a part of the royal family. I'm like, wait, what? I didn't. And he was showing me that, And so it was beautiful, because him and I both saw a lot, that we inspired a lot of people in relationships. We inspired a lot of people that was looking at the Nation of Islam. We inspired people in hip hop, what I'm saying? Even RZA was like, man, seeing y'all together, this is huge, what I'm saying? I'm coming to Savior's Day with y'all. And I had RZA on stage with us, what I'm saying? And Rakim was like, yo, I gotta come with y'all. What? This is crazy. So it was and then on top of it, I started managing them. So by the love that I had for him so much, that I put that all into wanting him to be I already saw so much. I always, when you love, you see the God in people, you see the light in people, and you're even if they don't see it in themselves. So even though he saw that within me, and I didn't see it in myself, I was like, well, I'm gonna reciprocate, and I'm gonna reciprocate 100-fold, So I started managing him, got him right back in good. My conversation with Divine, and I'm hoping they do a Woman Behind the Wu-Tang, documentary. But my conversation with Divine and RZA, I was like, you guys have him as an unofficial member. That's not equality. And y'all call him your brother? Nah, he was, just because he did a bid doesn't mean that he wasn't there from the beginning, because he didn't sign the loud contract at the beginning. Nah, y'all book him for everything. He's a part of the clan. And that was, like I said, and I said, you know what? He got a family. He got children. Y'all need to make him an official member on this 8 Diagrams album. Like, if y'all want him to be a part of this, they was like, all right, Queen, we got you. And they did a whole press conference and made him an official member of Wu-Tang Clan.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because because of that power dynamic that they saw in the relationship between him and I,
Because you the queen. You the melanin queen. We've been having this interview for almost an hour, and I know my camera is getting low, and I don't want to shut this interview off. So what I want to do is I kind of want to stop it right here where we at.
Yeah.
And you're going to be in town for how many more days?
Until Tuesday.
Can I sneak like an hour of your time out somewhere in between now and Tuesday?
Yeah.
And we can kind of like, because I wanna talk about.
I never went this in depth with anyone.
Man, it's dope. It's a good conversation.
I never went this in depth.
No, it's all up. But I want to get deeper because I want to tell people about. I want you to tell people about what you're doing with activism. I want you to tell people about what you're doing with the lung cancer and what you've been struggling with and fighting through, and not only fighting through but advocating for other people to keep moving. I want to tell people about when you were at the pipeline up in South Dakota and they were spraying y'all with the cold water, and these are experiences that you have that we can't condense into an hour. You know what I mean? Then you need your own biopic, your own. So when your book comes out and when you do your documentary and all these different things that are warranted for your life, I want to also have a piece of that in 50 years from now, 75 years from now. No, for real. I know someone's going to be researching you. It's going to be someone who got a book report.
Yeah.
And as they're doing a book report on you, they're going to be like, I found a dope interview she did with one of her homies. Like, that shit that you read over there is cool, and that interview you saw is cool, but you need to see this interview she did with her boy from the Sandbox. You know what I'm saying? And so, like,
because I never went, even just what we just did right now, I never went that in depth. Of my life, it's just always like an overview. And I've been on the Breakfast Club like 5 times. I've been on Hot 97. It's just like overviews,
Yeah, but they don't ask you the right questions. Because, like when I watched you on Breakfast Club, when you were there, you had the other indigenous people there with you. And you guys were speaking up. Yeah, they're like the third time. And I was like, this is like my 3rd time watching her on here, and y'all still not asking the right questions. You know what I mean? But I think once more people get to see like this conversation we're having now, it's gonna make people wheels spin, and there's gonna be some phone calls, and there's gonna be more questions and more. Hey, can I interview you? Or even like the interview you might have just had last week. That guy might see the interview and be like, hey, god damn, I wish I would have asked this, and this. But you don't know.
But no, this is good, and I'm happy we're doing this because I remember my mother had an interview like that, as we were going through her movie, for her movie, of her telling her entire life story, and I've always been wanting to like tell my entire life story. So this is really, really good, and I'm honored that we're having this conversation because I never went this in depth of my life, and it needs to be out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it really does, and it hasn't been yet.
No, I have a whole bunch of daughters, and they all need to know who you are. Like, I think all little black and melanated, brown and red girls should have your poster on their wall. We grew up in that time of Word Up magazines and stuff like that's what we grew up in.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they just share a picture and they don't really connect with the poster.
Yeah. But
going into the future, I think you might want to invest in some posters because I would advocate and I would spearhead it. Like these little girls, like I say, brown, yellow, red, little black girls, they need to have posters of people like you on their wall.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? And you're truly representative of what a queen is.
Thank you.
And not just the things that you've overcome to get to where you at, but the way you carry yourself, the way you represent your family, the way you represent your kids, the way you represent your mother, your legacy, your culture, your all of these different things. You know what I mean? Like, it's dope. And we can see it in your fashion. we can hear it in your music. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing for people to talk about it, but it's another thing for people to live it. So what I want you to do is please tell these people where they can find you and where they can look at if they need some encouragement, if they need some mentorship, if they just want to talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let them know where they can find you.
So it's queenyonasda.com, queen, YONASDA.com, and stay tuned for part 2.
Yeah. Rock with it. Y'all know what it is, man. Today will soon be 2 things. Today will soon be tomorrow, and today will soon be yesterday. So don't get tomorrow trying to figure out why didn't you do everything you should have did yesterday when you could do it today. You know what I'm saying? Queen Yonasda is a example of overcoming. She's a testament of beauty. She's a testament of just actions speak louder than words. You know, a lot of times we say love is an action. A lot of people like to use it as a word, but love is really should be like a verb. Isn't a verb an action word?
Yeah.
So when I think of love, I think of the queen. When I think of love, I think of the relationship that we've built from kids to now today, and the love that she's given so many of y'all that she don't even know. The people that she pound the pavement for, like whenever I wrap up these interviews, I like to say all of these slick things about the people, and I like to be like, ooh, this is about overcoming, and this is about, but this is just really about just presenting the queen to the people, so y'all can know the queen that I know. And that's all I got to say. Like, look her up and stay tuned for episode 2, because in episode 2 we're gonna get more into activism. We're gonna get more into the things that she do behind the scenes and a lot of the things that she's spearheading now and going into the future. So make sure you lock in, like, comment, subscribe, follow all her social media, follow mine, because Friday we're gonna drop this interview. Saturday we got Ty exclusive, and we're gonna come back. I want to say Sunday or something is a good day for y'all to sit down and watch her just really blast y'all in. So rock with us, and we appreciate y'all taking out the time to watch this. And if you feel like you missed something, rewind it and watch it again, so when you see part 2 you'll know what we're talking about. It's your boy Freeze. Thank you for coming in, Queen.
Thank you.
And I'm out. Peace.